Hello and welcome to Indus News Live from Islamabad. I'm Hira Mustafa and these are the headlines. Counting is underway after polling in Azad Jammu and Kashmir's parliamentary elections. Chief Election Commissioner Abdul Rashid Suleria said elections were held in peaceful environment across the valley. Over 700 candidates are contesting for the 45 seats in the Legislative Assembly. Meanwhile, 4 Pakistan Army soldiers who were deployed to control law and order during elections died after their vehicle fell into a ravine. More than 22,000 Afghan families have fled amid fighting in the former Taliban bastion of Kandahar. Since early May, violence has surged across Afghanistan after the Taliban launched a sweeping offensive amid withdrawal of foreign troops. This comes as authorities arrested 4 suspected Taliban fighters over this week's rocket attack on Kabul. President Vladimir Putin says the Russian Navy can detect any enemy and launch an unpreventable strike if needed. He was speaking at a Navy parade in St. Petersburg weeks after a UK warship angered Russia by passing the Crimea Peninsula. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at indus.news. Coming up next is Coffee Table. Welcome back. Now the news in detail. Counting is underway after polling in Azad Jammu and Kashmir's parliamentary elections. Over 700 candidates are contesting for 45 seats of Legislative Assembly. 4 soldiers who were deployed to control law and order during elections have died, and as many were injured when their van fell in a gorge. In sharp contrast to the elections held in the Indian-occupied Kashmir, where the majority of locals boycotted polls amid a crushing curfew. Authorities said elections were held in peaceful environment across Azad Jammu and Kashmir. First-time army was not deployed on polling stations. Voters exercised their right in a democratic, free and safe environment. A vibrant election campaign preceded the elections, where tens of thousands showed up at political public meetings. More than 3.2 million Kashmiris are registered to cast their ballots. 45 seats are up for grabs in the 53-member House for a 5-year term. Among them, 12 seats are reserved for refugees from occupied Jammu and Kashmir settled in Pakistan. Indian forces have martyred another civilian in occupied Jammu and Kashmir. The youth was targeted during a so-called search operation in Kulgam district's Yaripura area. Occupation forces have imposed a complete communications blackout in the area. The operation was underway till the last reports came in. The Indian forces have now killed 6 Kashmiris in Kulgam, Bandipora and Baramulla district over the past 48 hours. Rise Group says the occupying troops have martyred at least 400 Kashmiris since August 2019. In Afghanistan, more than 22,000 families have fled amid fighting in the former Taliban bastion of Kandahar. This comes as authorities arrested 4 suspected Taliban fighters over this week's rocket attack on Kabul. Local authorities had set up 4 camps for the displaced people, who are estimated to be about 154,000. A Kandahar resident says his house had been taken over by the Taliban after they fled. Earlier, the Afghan government imposed a nighttime curfew across 31 provinces to curb violence and movement of the Taliban. Since early May, violence has surged across Afghanistan after the Taliban launched a sweeping offensive amid withdrawal of foreign troops. Russia and Tajikistan have discussed joint measures to counter threats from the Taliban in the Tajik-Afghan border area. Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu discussed this with his Tajik counterpart Sherali Mirzo in a telephone call. This comes a day after Russia pledged to help its ally, Tajikistan, to build a new outpost on the border. Russia operates a military base in Tajikistan, whose government has expressed concern about the deteriorating situation in Afghanistan. The two countries and Uzbekistan will hold joint military drills close to the Tajik-Afghan border next month. Moscow has already started delivering new hardware to its Tajik base to reinforce the border. President Vladimir Putin says the Russian Navy can detect any enemy and launch an unpreventable strike if needed. He was speaking at a Navy parade in St. Petersburg weeks after a UK warship angered Russia by passing the Crimea Peninsula. He added that Russia is capable of detecting any underwater, above water, and airborne enemy. President Putin reviewed the parade on the Neva River to mark Russian Navy's 325th anniversary. Pakistan's Navy ship Zulfikar is also participating in the parade. It involves more than 50 ships, vessels, submarines, windjammers, and 4,000 personnel. About 50 aircraft are also taking part in the naval parade's flyover. Brazil has registered more than 1,100 daily deaths from COVID-19 and over 38,000 cases. Globally, the virus has claimed over 4 million lives and infected more than 193 million people. More in this report.
Patience across the world is running out as the new wave of COVID-19 cases, fueled by the Delta variant, forces the world back to lock itself down. Tens of thousands in Australia, France, Italy, Greece, and the United Kingdom took to the streets against the re-emergence of restrictions. The demonstrations are becoming increasingly violent over time, with protesters clashing with the police, accusing their governments of eroding civil liberties. Anger over government mishandling of the pandemic is also on the rise, especially against Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro. But with all that anger and frustration, the surge in cases worldwide is no myth. The World Health Organization says the Delta variant, detected in 124 territories worldwide, is expected to become the dominant globally in the coming months. The health body has predicted that there could be more than 200 million confirmed cases within a matter of weeks. Britain has reported 86 deaths within 28 days of a positive test. India has logged another 535 fatalities over the past 24 hours. The country's crisis has worsened with the growing epidemic of black fungus. More than 4,300 people have died of the fungus so far.
In Pakistan, the coronavirus has claimed 45 more lives overnight. The health ministry says the death toll has reached 23,016. The ministry registered more than 2,800 infections over the past 24 hours. The country's positivity rate has surged to 6.32%. The ministry says the caseload has exceeded 1,004,000, while almost 926,000 people have recovered from the disease so far. More than 55,000 cases are active and over 2,500 of them are critical. Saudi Arabia's Foreign Minister Prince Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud will arrive in Islamabad on an official visit on the 27th of July. It will be Prince Faisal's second state visit to Pakistan within a year. A Pakistani government spokesperson said bilateral relations and cooperation in various fields will be reviewed in the meeting. The Saudi Arabian embassy said the visit is a continuation of high-level engagements between the two countries. Earlier, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman visited Islamabad in February 2019. The two sides had signed investment deals worth $20 billion during his visit. Prime Minister Imran Khan also visited Riyadh in May and signed several agreements on economic, trade and defense cooperation. In Nigeria, kidnappers have released 28 children they abducted from a boarding school in northern part of the country earlier this month. Talking to media, officials said 34 children are now free, with 87 others still in their captivity. The attack on the Bethel Baptist High School in the state of Kaduna was the 10th mass school kidnapping by criminal gangs since December. Authorities have attributed the kidnappings to what they called armed bandits seeking ransom. They had ordered the closure of the school and 12 others in the area following the incident. In Ethiopia, Amhara state has called on all young people to take up arms against Tigray rebels who are battling the military forces in all 9 regions. State media quoted Amhara's president Egnehu Teshage as saying that all youths must join the war mission from Monday. The call for mass mobilization against Tigray People's Liberation Front comes after the group expanded the 8-month-old war in the country. Ethiopia declared war against TPLF in November after the group attacked the military bases. Last week, the rebels pushed their offensive to Afar region to target troops from the Amhara region fighting alongside the federal military in the area. Turkey says 2 of its soldiers have been killed in northern Syria. Turkish Defense Ministry says 2 other soldiers were wounded in the attack on their armored vehicle. In a tweet, the ministry said the attack... Welcome back. Iran has dismissed UN human rights boss criticism on violence in protest over water shortages as meddling in its internal affairs.
In a statement, Foreign Ministry spokesperson Said Khatibzadeh said UN's Rights Commissioner Michelle Bachet's biased comments were not within the scope of her responsibilities. Bachet had expressed concern about deaths and injuries and widespread detentions over the past week in the southwestern province of Khuzestan. In addition to the drought, Khatibzadeh said U.S. sanctions had prevented the transfer of technology to and investment in Khuzestan's water sector. Meanwhile, rallies in support of the protest in the oil-rich province spread to the northwest of the country. According to Iranian officials, at least 1 policeman and 3 protesters have been shot dead. However, Amnesty International said at least 8 people had been killed during the unrest.
The U.S. and Chinese officials are set to hold talks over a wide range of issues causing friction between the world's top economies. U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Wendy Sherman will meet Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi in Tianjin today. The meeting is a continuation of the Alaskan talks where China publicly slammed the U.S. over its hegemonic policies. U.S. officials say Sherman will stress the need for a level playing field and guardrails to avoid any conflict. They say the 2 economic powerhouses need responsible ways to manage competition. The relations between Washington and Beijing are strained over a host of issues, including human rights, economy, technology, and territorial claims. Britain is hosting climate and environment ministers from 51 countries on Sunday. The critical talks come ahead of November's 26th UN Climate Change Conference of the Parties in Glasgow. British Minister Alok Sharma, who is president of COP26, will convene the 2-day meeting. A statement released by the British government said Sharma hopes to sketch the outline of the Glasgow outcome. Ahead of the ministerial, Sharma urged the countries to collectively safeguard Earth's future. He said it is essential that common ground for a greener future is found for the next generations. It is the first face-to-face ministerial meeting of its kind in more than 18 months involving ministers from the US and China. In India, the death toll from floods and landslides triggered by the heavy rains has risen to 147. Officials say 9 people have died in southwest Karnataka, while 138 in Maharashtra state. Talking to the media, Karnataka officials said at least 3 others are missing in the flood-affected regions. Authorities have issued a red alert in 7 districts of the state, predicting 3 more days of rainfall. Rescue teams struggled through thick sludge and debris to reach dozens of submerged homes. China's eastern coast is bracing for a major typhoon just days after deadly floods devastated the central parts of the country. The typhoon, dubbed Enfa, is expected to make landfall in the province of Zhejiang near Shanghai today. The typhoon is about 95 kilometers away from the province and moving at a speed of 15 kilometers per hour. Forecasters warn it could trigger flash flooding, mudslides, and gusts of up to 120 miles per hour. The Zhejiang Emergency Management Department upgraded its typhoon response to the highest level. Authorities shut down railways and ports, with flights cancelled and villagers evacuated to temporary shelters. A heavy sandstorm has wreaked havoc in China's Gansu province. The storm turned the sky yellow, reducing the visibility to less than 5 meters. The sandstorm, as high as over 100 meters, advanced from north to south, engulfing the expressway in just a few minutes. Local police imposed traffic control at the toll gates. They directed their stranded vehicles to leave the expressway and stop in the service areas for the storm to pass. In Belgium, the southern town of Dinan has been hit by the heaviest floods in decades. The 2-hour thunderstorm turned streets into torrential streams, washing away cars and pavements, but did not kill anyone. According to local media, there was no precise estimate of the damage, with town authorities predicting that it would be significant. Earlier, 37 people died in floods in southeast Belgium and many more in Germany. At least 10 people have died after their bus veered off a highway and crashed in Croatia. Authorities said 44 others were injured in the accident near the Serbian border. Authorities said the driver of the bus has been arrested as he apparently lost control over the vehicle after falling asleep. Police said the bus was on a regular route from Germany to Kosovo's capital of Pristina. They said the bus was carrying 67 passengers, including children, and 2 drivers, one of whom died in the crash. Croatian Prime Minister Andrej Plenković expressed sadness and extended his condolences to the relatives of the victims. In the U.S., firefighters have gained ground on the nation's biggest blaze as smoke from scores of raging wildfires blocked the sunlight. Officials say the bootleg fire in Oregon has now been contained by 42%. Smoke in the lower atmosphere coming from California wildfires has floated over the bootleg, helping the crews make progress. According to the authorities, the smoke shading created cooler and more stable service conditions. Around 2,000 firefighters are battling the blaze, which has scorched over 401,000 acres in the state. More than 80 large active wildfires in 13 U.S. states have so far charred about 1.3 million acres. And now it's time to take a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. In the United States, hundreds of men dressed as Ernest Hemingway paraded with man-made bulls as part of a Hemingway look-alike contest. More in this report.
With white beards and red berets, 137 men converged outside Sloppy Joe's bar, one of Hemingway's favorite hangouts, to vie for the title. The annual event, held in Key West, Florida, honors the Pulitzer Prize winner who lived on the island during the 1930s. It parodies the famous San Fermin bull races held in Spain every year, which were also memorialized with Hemingway's novel The Sun Also Rises. But the Florida run, with its man-made bulls, is far safer than the original festival for both the bulls and the crowd. The contest is the highlight of Key West's Hemingway's Days festival that began on the 20th of July. The festivities have returned this year after getting cancelled last year because of the coronavirus pandemic.
In Germany, a Munich-based travel agency is selling tickets to space. The 250,000 euros ticket will let buyers fly aboard Virgin Galactic to space for an hour. More in this report.
Luxury travel agents Design Raisin is the only agency in Germany handling the bookings for space travel. The agency's manager, Marion Aliabadi, says anyone can fly provided they are physically fit and not recovering from an operation.
Und wie alt sie sind,
It doesn't matter how old you are. You can be 90. If you're healthy and sporty, there are people who are 90 years old and still do many things. Age is not the limit, health is. The cardiovascular system should be okay. A recent heart attack or operation is not ideal because there is pressure on the body and nobody wants a scar breaking.
Commercial space travel has drawn mixed opinions from the public, with some excited by the possibility while others remaining skeptical.
Ich finde das schon eigentlich ein gutes.
Well, I like the idea because at first glance it looks totally unreal and utopian. But with any sort of progress, you have to start somewhere. So I find it quite interesting.
Nein, würde ich nicht.
No, not for me. I'm scared of space. I'm rather on Earth. I'm also scared of water. It's not for me.
With billionaires Richard Branson and Jeff Bezos flying into space recently, there has been a lot of talk surrounding commercial space travel. Ali Abadi stumbled across Branson's project in 2009 and undertook 12 years of training to understand what she is selling. So far, her agency has managed to sell 8 tickets to male clients.
In the Tokyo Olympics, China continues its winning streak into the second day of the Games, bagging 3 more gold medals. China tops the medal standings with 6 golds, followed by Japan with 5 and the US with 4 medals. As the Games progress in Tokyo, the fierce contest continues to surprise not just the athletes but the fans worldwide. Today, Team China's duo Xingting Mao and Wang Han claimed the medal in the women's 3 meters synchronized spring boat, while Li Fabin and Li Junchen won golds in the men's 61 and 67 kilogram weightlifting categories respectively. In tennis, Japan's Naomi Osaka powered through her opening match, defeating China's Zheng Saisai 6-1, 6-4. Earlier, world number 1 Ashley Barty crashed after the first round after losing to Sara Soraib's Tormo 6-4, 6-3. Meanwhile, Britain and Murray withdrew from the men's singles with a minor thigh strain. In the men's hockey, Australia secured a crushing 7-1 victory over India. Meanwhile, in women's taekwondo, US Anastasia Zolotic defeated Russian Tatiana Manina to win gold in 57 kilogram category. In basketball, the US men's team suffered a shock 83-76 defeat by France, losing at the Olympics for the first time since 2004. Japan's Yuto Horigome claimed a gold medal in the first ever Olympic skateboarding competition. Earlier, Yui Ohashi also clinched gold for the hosts after winning the women's 400-meter individual medley. Australia broke its own world record to win the women's 4x100-meter freestyle relay gold medal, touching home in 3 minutes and 29 seconds. Russia also opened its gold account after the shooter Vitalina Batasaraskina won the women's 10-meter pistol event. Meanwhile, world number 1 John Ram and world number 6 Bryson DeChambeau are out of the competition after testing positive for COVID-19. The International Olympic Committee has asked athletes to wear a mask throughout the Games venues. Olympics organizers have reported 10 new COVID-19 cases, bringing the total infections at the venue to 132. In cricket, Pakistan and West Indies will play a 4-match 2020 series starting from 28th of July in Barbados. The change in schedule was jointly announced by Cricket West Indies and the Pakistan Cricket Board. The first match will be played in Kensington Oval, with the remaining 3 to be played at Guyana National Stadium. The adjustment to the 2020 COP schedule was made due to the changes to the fixtures for the ongoing ODI series between West Indies and Australia. In football, Qatar beat El Salvador 3-2 in Arizona to reach the CONCACAF Gold Cup semi-finals. The Middle Eastern team is the first out-of-region invitee to reach the Final Four of the tournament. Qatar raced into a 2-0 lead in the first 10 minutes, thanks to goals from Al-Moiz Ali and Abdul Aziz Hatim. Ali bumped the lead to 3-0 after netting his second goal in the 55th minute. Joaquin Rivas managed to pull 2 back for El Salvador in the 63rd and 66th minute. However, it was not enough to secure a place in the last 4. Qatar will now face either the US or Jamaica for a place in the final on Thursday in Texas. For the weather updates, we have Muneem Hamid with us.
Thank you. We're going to start with Abu Dhabi, where the weather is expected to be hot, with temperatures rising to 44 degrees Celsius, while in Amsterdam there will be rain with temperatures at 22. Now, if we head to Ankara, the weather is pleasantly sunny with temperatures at 30 degrees Celsius. Now, moving down under to Auckland, the temperature is chilly at 15 degrees Celsius with expected rain. Now, if you are traveling to Bangkok, there will be clouds overhead with temperatures around 29 degrees Celsius, while in Beijing there is cloudy weather in the forecast with temperatures at 33 degrees Celsius. Now in Beirut, you will experience partial sunny weather with temperatures at 31 degrees Celsius. Now Berliners will experience a thunderstorm with temperatures at 28. Now heading to Cairo, the sun will be out with 35. Now down under in Canberra, the sun is keeping weather pleasant with temperatures at 6. In Islamabad, the weather is partially sunny with temperatures rising to 37 degrees Celsius, while in Jakarta, the temperatures are steady at 32 degrees Celsius with the sun overhead. That's all for now. Back to you.
Thank you, Maneep. That's all for now. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at indus.news.